good job, mid pay. Fun horror stories. 6 out of 10.
Ooh, it's been 7 months. Let's clear a few things up. My boss is a two-faced snake. Case isn't as bad as I first thought, and I got a promotion. An unwanted promotion. Let's start from the top. I made my last video 7-ish months ago, and since then I've started T, got a promo, and have been updated about previous T. So where we last left off is when we still had the other girl as co-HOH, which that position only exists so main HOH can get 2 days off. We call her Eyes, as she always has eyeshadow on. She eventually quit for a job that had better pay and more consistent hours. I wasn't jealous then, but I am now. And that's when Boss, the general manager, pulled me aside and was like, "Why didn't you take the job?" And I don't know exactly what I said, so paraphrasing here. I said, "I've had bad experiences as a manager and I thought I would be starting college sooner." She said, "Look, just take the position. There's a lot of benefits. It's not that hard because Miss does most of the heavy lifting. You would only be working so she could have 2 days off." I felt backed into a corner, so I said, "Okay." And she was right, but also wrong. HOH days are only easy when Boss makes the schedule so that there are enough people working on the floor that day. If not, then I'm forced to not only work in laundry and as HOH, but also on the floor as a housekeeper. I don't get paid enough to work 3 jobs. I don't get paid enough to work 2. Over the summer is when it was the craziest due to rooms and people constantly leaving. The turn rate was diabolical, and all these new girls who take on this job thinking it'll be a nice little cleaning job are usually wrong. They think that, oh, I have 4 kids, or oh, I clean up the house at home, or oh, I want to be a housewife, so this is like training. They all agreed that this job was a lot tougher than they first thought. Now, to be fair, the owners of the hotel lie about the amount of work that you do and the amount of rooms that you receive. They're also stingy as fuck, picky as fuck, and cheapskates. The main owner is always bitching about the labor percentage, but then always bitching when there are too many people on the labor list. Like, dude, pick a lane, pick a fucking struggle. But when I started working my HOH job, I started spending more time with Case down in laundry. And in my eyes, she was like the head of laundry because she had been there for the longest and knew what she was doing. But I started to learn more about my boss as I was working with her. Actually, I learned a lot about my boss from everybody. Apparently, Miss picks favorites. I was one of her favorites because she could work me like a mule and I wouldn't care because that's just how I am. And everyone else got the short end of the stick. She has a very harsh sounding voice, like I said originally, but what I didn't know is that she doesn't extend a certain amount of kindness to make up for her lack in tone. We had this one new hire who had years of housekeeping work under her belt. She was great with her job, and when I trained her, I didn't have to tell her to do shit because it was second nature. One day, as she's starting to work by herself, she's running pretty late because it's 3 miles from her house to the hotel, and she doesn't have a car. So she's late because she's walking, and after her 3 mile trek from her house to the hotel, she gets to work with a long list and just wants to get started. To keep this in chronological order, at some point throughout that day, Miss comes to me and tells me, "Yeah, no, she walked out." She walked out for no reason, according to Mist. Now, you know when I say according, that's not what happened at all. Miss told me that when she tried handing over the keys to let her get up into second floor closet to get out her cart, she scoffed, rolled her eyes, and walked out, talking about how ridiculous it was for it to work that way. Basically, our little system that we have with the closet. A couple weeks later, as I'm pondering on this during one of my HOH days, Case tells me, "Dude, I was standing in between them when that happened. That's not what happened at all." I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "Yeah." She continues by saying, "I was standing between Mist and Ajax." We're gonna call her that. "I was standing between Mist and Ajax when Ajax came down looking for second floor keys. And yeah, she had a bit of an attitude, but she was already late after walking 3 miles, and she's an older lady, so she's tired." Miss didn't like her attitude at all and went something along the lines, "Well, I'm not sure what's with the attitude, but you can go ahead and leave or wait till I can get you the key." Here's a little secret about being HOH is that you only do not have your keys on your person for about 3 times throughout the day. Usually 2, sometimes 3. One in the morning and one in the evening. Both are so that way any girl or any boy on second floor can get out their cart. And maybe, I'm talking very rare maybe, if PA, personal cleaning area, needs to get the key to get something up from Narnia, a storage closet, or like go outside for a second. Like, but usually I don't need that because they have their own key. So I know either A, she was lying, or B, she was being petty because she should have had her fucking keys on her. There's no excuse for that. First, that is very immature. It's a very immature way to respond to someone who is new and doesn't understand all the kinks in our disheveled system like that. Second, not having any grace when you're made very aware of the situation, as it is HOH's job to make sure all of their ducks are in a row and they have a head count of everyone there and whether or not somebody's going to be late. Third, lying to your co-HOH, me, and saying that Ajax willingly walked out when you pushed her past the point, costing us another valuable and much needed worker is insane. That basically loaded everyone else's list that day with even more rooms, because when one girl walks out, all the rooms get dumped onto the other girls. That was one instance, only one. I'm sure there have been countless more that I wasn't made aware of. Actually, as I'm typing this out, I do know of another. We had this worker, let's call her Ara from Undertale. Really sweet, autistic, we bonded over cells at work. She was great. Literally, I didn't have like a work friend before her, and with her, it just clicked. It was great. I never had an issue with her as HOH, but the way Misty would always have a problem with her, it's like you go into the group chat, every other sentence mentioned Kara's name and something that she did wrong. So, like, an example would be like, Kara, you missed a tiny little speck on one of the cabinets. Kara, there's a small little hair in the basin of the tub. Kara, you missed hair behind the toilet. Like, the smallest shit that you could easily take a tissue, because tissues are provided in the rooms, and wipe it out and then just flush it down the toilet. It's not that big of a deal. Mist herself told me and showed me to do that. But just in the group chat, Kara this, Kara that, Kara. It was embarrassing not only for everyone else to see, but also for Kara to be publicly lectured like that for the whole class to see. It was even brought up with Boss, who talked to Mist about it, which then happened again, and that's when Kara finally quit. Mist, I guarantee you, has probably been the number one cause of running every new person off. The only people that have stayed around are stubborn folk, people who keep their heads down, or people with nowhere else to go until they can find somewhere else to go. The person who has experienced the brunt of Misty's tyrannical, obsessive micromanagement control freak issues is Case. Case and Mist have been working side by side with each other for a while. Case used to work rooms but was ridiculed because she was very slow. All of her rooms looked immaculate, yes, but that's because Mist would harp on her for any small speck that she found. And frankly, I think if Mist would fire me if she saw the state I left those rooms in and called clean. Yeah, I have only gotten a singular complaint, which was recent because I somehow managed to forget an entire room on my list. Crazy how that works. Hasn't happened since, though. Back to Queso. I don't even have to ask Case about the lashes that she had to endure because I can ask anyone else who has seen Mist and Case work together. I had a recent girl who we had to let go because she no called no showed one day. Turns out she got sent to jail for assault and battery. Don't worry, I'll get to that story later. But the recent girl pulled me aside and asked if Miss was always like that to Case, and if that's how Miss would treat her. Now, I have been told that it is my responsibility to keep the team together, which I think is bullshit, so I straight up tell any girl once they start seeing the dark side of Mist's moon, listen, you can't control what she does with other people, but if you feel that you and her may have an issue, take it up with Boss, the GM, because I don't get paid enough to be a mediator for two grown-ass adults. But literally, my boss, Mist, has only been nice to me and maybe a select few. Everyone else, she has shown some sort degree of attitude, and not a reasonable amount. I don't know if she hasn't shaken the mindset from prison, which I know can be hard to shake, but she's been out for years. But anytime someone shows her an ounce of attitude, she can't take it in stride. She has to spit back the same amount with a side of venom. It's like she has to have the last laugh. And she fluctuates horrifically throughout the day. She will tell Case how to do something in the morning, and then by the evening, she's changed her mind completely, which I can attest to. She does it with me, but with me, she gives reasonable explanations. Not with Case. Also, when I take my break, she's like, sure, yeah, you're all good, go ahead. When Case takes her break, what are you doing? Why are you sitting down? Tired already? Just the double standards literally piss me off so fucking much. Why am I getting special treatment? Case works just as hard as me, if not harder. Mist is always running off and helping everyone else, but she's supposed to be down in laundry helping Case. On another note of horrible workers I could not stand, there's this one girl who genuinely believed the world was flat and the moon's a hologram, my wife, and that the pyramids were submerged underwater and built by aliens. So before we get to that, let's get back to the girl who called me while she was in prison. Let me clear something up real quick. She didn't go to prison, she went to jail. There's a difference. She didn't go to prison, she went to jail. So she was new, and she was really liking the job. She was the one that pulled me aside and asked about Mist's attitude. She was talking the whole day before her no call, no show too about how she needed hours and she was happy to be working, which was very apparent because she would stay late after work doing like small, minute tasks that literally would amount to nothing, but gave her a couple more hours. And I was like, sure, fine, whatever. Get with it, girl, whatever. Well, the morning of, I didn't get a call nor text that she was running late or she had to call in. Thankfully, the day was just lax enough to where I didn't need to strain myself and I could just stay and help in laundry all day. But I thought it was really weird that someone who was so adamant about working didn't show up or call anyone. It's also kind of fucked because Case would be working for 9 days straight from the 4 days on this job to 5 days on her next job without a break. So basically, we were all kind of annoyed and irritated with this. Thankfully, however, it wasn't too rough of a day, and I was able to move some things around to where I could help Case in laundry, get her to go home early, and it was all taken care of. But it wasn't till next week when I got a call from the county jail. I pick it up, I answer. Lo and behold, it was from Miss No Call. She calls me and like, Puffy, I got put in jail that day and don't have access to my phone, but I was able to call you. However, I need you to call 2 people for me. I have the money to pay my bond. I just need a cosigner. Could you call these 2 numbers for me? I said, sure. I got the numbers, called them, no response. Called the first person. Actually, no, both of them didn't respond to me. First person I called like several times, over and over again, and it kept on being like, oh, this person is temporarily out of service. Please try again later. I wasn't about to do that. And then the second number, which was her grandma, I called that, and it's like somebody picked up because the number was rolling, but nobody was at the phone or answering. So I just left my information and hoped that that lady got it. Not my information. I just told her the situation. Well, let me clear that up. I told her that I was the boss and that her granddaughter was sitting in jail. That's it. Eventually, she gets out and texts me later asking about her job. I said, well, what did you do? Because if it's not too big of an issue, we can let that slide. Meanwhile, I let my boss know the situation, and she's doing a Google search for the mugshot. No Call was trying to dance around the subject, asking to talk to Boss Boss, and that's when Miss says, no, Boss Boss won't rehire her. She got her photo taken for assault and battery. My jaw dropped because this was a girl my size, my weight. Who the hell is she beating up on? What happened? I'll never know. Top 10 biggest anime regret. On to the girl who thinks the moon landing was fake. She pissed me off so fucking much. Her stupidity was my last straw. We first started talking to each other because I was teaching her and I was training her. And she was just asking me a couple questions because she was a yapper. One of the questions she asked me was like, oh, what's your taste in music? And I haven't updated my vocabulary or list about like, oh yeah, this is what I say to people when they ask me questions that I don't know the neurotypical answer to. Because how the fuck am I supposed to sit there and say FNAF music? FNAF music is one of my favorite genres of music. I like FNAF music. How am I supposed to say that? Should I say gaming music? That's a little weird too. But I haven't updated my little what to say when someone asks me this quota thing. And it had been a while because the first name to leave my mouth was Doja Cat. Just goes to show how out of date my list was because by that time she was known to have a photo with her in a shirt that had a Nazi on it. So like obviously my list was outdated. But she didn't clock me for that. Oh no. She clocked me because Doja Cat made music about sex and being hot. which excuse me for liking music that boosts my self-confidence. I didn't know it was a crime to love oneself. Excuse me for liking myself. Excuse me for listening to music that uplifts my soul and spirit. Not all of us want to be sad, drab, and miserable for the rest of our lives. You have your Deftones and Leopard shit and ACDC and Led Zeppelin and all that nonsense, because she was the type of girl to be like, oh, I listen to old school classic rock, like I listen to real music, like music built for Americans. Like, the way to describe her is a very niche explanation, but it's like she's a white woman who acted queer but wanted to be one of the boys. A pick me, if you would. A very much pick me who wanted a gay best friend. You feel me? But then, as I was caught in a little lie of like listening to a Nazi's music, I had to quickly explain myself and defend myself. Quickly explain myself and defend myself, and be like, no, I don't listen to her anymore. Here's some creators I actually listen to. I listen to Queen Irby, spelled with a V, not a U. I listen to Doechii. I listen to System of a Down. I listen to Ghost. She was like, I've never heard of those before. So I broke it down for her one more time. Ghost is an alternative band that's been around since the early 2000s that makes religious music. And System of a Down is like a new metal band. And then Doechii is a rapper. And Queen Irby is also a rapper, but she has like a jazz sound to her. I also listen to Love, which is just a jazz artist. She was like, wow, that's all over the place. I was like, yeah. What about it? I didn't know what to say to that. What am I supposed to say to that? It's all over the place. No shit. No shit, Sherlock. Now, I don't know how we got onto the subject, but we somehow brought up conspiracy theories. I said, oh yeah, my brother would keep the X-Files channels on his TV in the background, but it'd be on like silent. And she took this full throttle and went, oh, okay, so you know that the moon is fake. And I go, oh, you think my wife is fake? She completely went over the my wife part and was more focused on the fact that I didn't think so. And she got a little embarrassed. That was her Achilles heel. She got a little embarrassed and was like, well, I mean, there's no way that you think the moon landing's real. And me trying to keep the peace for a moment so that way I could crack open this dumb little idiot like a fake geode, I said, well, I had this conversation with someone a few days ago, which was true. It was my brother-in-law, and we were both on the same page that the moon landing was real. We just don't have the technology to do it anymore. Like, the only issue we have with it, me personally, which I did bring up and he also thinks is kind of weird, is that back in the 60s we had the technology to go to the moon, but now we don't. A little weird. But I tell that to her. I'm like, yeah, I know it is kind of weird that we don't have the technology today, but we did back then. And she's like, exactly. And the footage, like, obviously that's fake. And she started talking about Mars, which I shut that down quick by saying, no, there is no pattern or geographical mapping on Earth that could ever match a planet that's much larger and older than Earth. Olympus is a mountain that the Earth literally could not even begin to create, because mountains are created by tectonic plates crashing into each other. And I could tell that she wanted to argue with me more on that, but she didn't have the grounds about it. But this is where I wanted to prod and poke a little bit more, because I've never met a person like this and I wanted to know more. So I asked, so do you think the earth is flat too? As like a joke, like, so do you think the earth is flat too? And she didn't say anything, but I could tell by the look on her face that I was right. And I was like, no way. And she said, listen, all I've ever known is to not trust anything they teach you in school, because that's what my mom and grandma have been telling me my whole life, even though I don't really trust them, so I don't really listen to them half the time. And me, with my continuous picking, I asked, so if you don't trust books, an object that is so heavily associated with knowledge and creativity, and you don't trust your family, which are supposed to be the people that teach and nurture and guide you through life, what do you trust? Who do you trust? What do you think is real? Getting a little deep, I know, but hang with me here. And she says, I don't really know. Right now, all I know is that you are real, I am real, and what we are doing is real. But once I leave this place, I'll question if this was real or not. And right now, as I'm writing this out, that sounds like a horrible existence to live through, because you don't trust people with degrees who have spent their lives studying and learning these things for the rest of humanity to experience, love, and enjoy. People who make it their life's missions to give information and knowledge at the touch of your fingers if you use Google or Wikipedia or the public library. For a moment there, I felt bad for her. That That is how she lived her life. And then she started talking to me about damn lizard people, and all of the empathy left my body. We talked about the pedophile ring in Hollywood, which that's not a theory in my eyes. That's a damn truth that most big stars in Hollywood or LA are fucking pedophiles. But lizard people? As someone who likes the idea of napping under a heat lamp with some snacks and a slightly damp enclosure, lizard people do not exist. And then she tried to say that the pyramids were built by aliens. I said, nuh-uh, you can go to YouTube and look up man shows tools they used to use, move around, and haul the pyramid blocks. That shut her up. Then, a couple days later, as this was around election time, she asks, I can already guess who you're voting for, and in retaliation, as putting me into any little box when you don't know me at all is a personal insult to me, I said, well, even if I wasn't Kamala, I wouldn't be voting for the man who has 34 counts of felonies and continuously degrades women around him on a day to day basis. Her only response, well, I'm voting for Trump because Kamala gives me bad vibes. And I said, and Trump doesn't? And she says, well, yeah, but Kamala is worse. I mean, she fakes her accent. I don't even remember what I said to counter that. I think I said something along the lines of whenever you talk to a person long enough, you will pick up their accent, because she said something about a Jamaican accent. And I couldn't. I couldn't at that point because I was talking with somebody who was voting for Trump based on bad vibes. You're telling me that guy doesn't give you bad vibes? No, also not to mention with the whole accent thing is that the entire time we talked to each other, we spoke in fake British accents. So like imagine that entire conversation we're talking about, but with a fake British accent. That is how we talked to each other the entire time she worked there. And then suddenly she has a problem with fake accents. BS. Another issue that has come to light in my job is that older people do not respect you if you are younger but in a position of management, aka their boss. A couple months ago, we had these two girls named we'll name them Teapot and Red, okay? Teapot and Red, they know each other because they went to the same gospel with each other, okay? A gospel down here is basically like, oh, what is it called? Like a sanctuary, a little place for people who are down in their luck that need a little bit of help. All right, they go to there, and they kind of know each other. Teapot was working a little bit before Red joined, but I had an issue with Teapot. There was this one instance where I went to go give her. I went to go check her cart because it's HOH's responsibility to check carts to make sure that they're fully stocked and everything. Well, I noticed that she was missing a couple of shower curtains. So I'm like, hey, you're missing something. I'll go get it for you. I'll be right back. She gives me the biggest sigh, but I ignore it because I'm like, it's been a long day. She's probably tired. She's been on her feet. I'll let it slide. I come back. Like, I go into the closet. I get her things. I come back. She's gone. She's fucking gone. I hear the elevator ding. She went into the elevator. I stop the elevator with the shower curtains. I put them on her cart. I go, this is all that you needed. And then I let her go. I would have been fine with the sigh. I would have been fine with the scoff. It was the walking away part for me. That was the part that got me. But then a couple months later, it just got worse whenever Red joined. Red joined in, and it was Red's first fucking day. No, not her first day. 'Cause she was working by herself at this time. But basically, okay, so then that makes it even worse. She's had a ground basis, can feel the place out a bit because we trained these girls for a week. Red joined. It's Red's first day cleaning by herself, and that morning was really slow to the point where like T had to come and take some rooms off of my list. Now, anytime we do that in this example, I would then take some rooms off of T's list near in the middle or later in the day, so that way she wouldn't get overburdened with work. Well, I never got handed those rooms, so when I'm all said and done with my list and my entire cart is put up, Mist then comes down and sees that I'm done and is like, oh, hey, did you ever get those 3 rooms from T? I'm like, no, what rooms? And she's like, you never got the rooms? I'm like, I never got the rooms. So T then comes down and Miss tells her, hey, I told you explicitly that you're supposed to give these rooms to Coffee so that way he could do them for you and you wouldn't be overburdened. But since you never did that and he's already done, you're going to do those 3 rooms. And this pissed T smooth the fuck off. She didn't say anything, but a couple minutes later when she came down from her cart, because the rooms were like upstairs, She was cussing up a storm in the laundry room while T was listening. Not T, Red was listening. And me and Mist's sister, Fog, were both listening. T was going off saying, like, I gotta clean 3 more fucking rooms because I didn't give him to this. I didn't give him to him. And I'm trying to remember exactly. Basically, she was swearing and complaining that she had to clean a couple more rooms and that she never heard Misty losing her shit, right? I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna keep my head down because I don't need any more trouble. I just want to get the day done and over with. Mist then texts me and is like, "Hey, I need you to check Red's cart so that way she can go ahead and leave because her work right now is really subpar and we're not gonna keep anyone who doesn't do their job 100% on the clock. Like we're not gonna have them milk the clock if they're not doing a good job." I go, "Sure, I can do that." I check her cart. She's missing something. I don't remember what it was. We'll say shower curtains. And I'm like, hey, you're missing something. I'm gonna go get it for you real quick. But Mist said you're free to go. And then she was like, well, where's T? And I'm like, oh, she's upstairs finishing those rooms. And Red's like, well, I'm her ride home. So what am I supposed to do for the next hour, an hour and a half? And I was like, well, you can sit in the laundry room or in the office because she gave me a lot of attitude and I was feeling really disrespected right then and there. Like, the fuck you mean am I supposed to do? Girl, you can sit down and wait. Hello? If it's that important to you, you can wait. But I was like, well, you can sit in the lunchroom or in the back office. But Mist has told me to tell you to get off the clock. I go out. I go get the little things that she needs for her cart. And I come back. She's gone. She's gone just like her friend was. She's gone. She had gone upstairs to go help T. That's great. Sweet and all. Friendship for the win. But you're explicitly ignoring the boss's orders, which can get you into a lot of trouble unless you talk to the boss about it. Another issue I've had with someone who's a bit older than me and doesn't like the fact that I'm in a power position is someone who joined recently. She recently just got out of the slammer. She was in for about 15 years. And she was really cool at first until she went on like a 30-minute tangent about purity and being pure of heart and just listening to God and the gospel and that kind of stuff. So I was trying to be nice, I was trying to be polite, I was trying to be understanding and stuff. It was tough. It was really tough. But at some point during the conversation, she made this half-hearted joke about how, like, oh, I'm your elder, so that means you gotta respect me. Ha ha ha. Don't worry, I'm just joking, bro. Which, I'm just joking, bro. That should have been like the biggest red flag, but I was like, yeah, maybe she is just joking, bro, you know? Next day, she comes up from the bottom floor and she's looking for me. She goes, hey, do you know where Mist's at? Nope. Well, do you have the keys? Mm-mm. Alright, thank you. And then, as she's walking away, under her breath, she says, calm down, boy. Boy? Excuse me, boy? Calm down, boy? Calm down, first off. But boy? Ooh, at first, okay, I'm pissed off right now because I now know the context behind it. But at first, in the moment, I was like, oh, maybe it was something I said. You know, my tone can be a little monotonous, kind of harsh, you know. But I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I called after her. I was like, oh, was it something I said? Got no response. And so I said it again a bit louder. I was like, oh, was it? Did I say something wrong? Still nothing. So I called out for her by name. And she goes, just a joke, bro, without turning around. First off, you not turning around to address me is already rude, but whatever, I'll let it slide. Second, you heard me, but then elected to ignore me because you heard me when I called your name, but not the other 2 times. Third, you're now using just a joke as a cover up for your rude and shady behavior. That is fucking rude beyond a shadow of a doubt. I brought it up with Mist because I was like, I'm having issues with her. Does it sound rude? Is it just me? She's like, no. Her walking off and then saying all that, yeah, that's pretty rude. I was like, cool, so it's not just me. I don't know if she's got a talking to, but I haven't had any issues since. So, I'm just take that as a win. But over the course of the months, due to my voice dropping, I've got called sir a lot more by guests and coworkers. My voice is a lot lower, as I'm sure you can tell. And I filled out applications for college in the spring, but unfortunately, the spring semester has already started, so I'm going to have to wait for summer applications, which will forever. But I'm stuck here until then. I know I said previously that this isn't one of the worst jobs which I've had, which it's not. I make that very clear. It's not. I will never forget Sandwich Place. But it's definitely not one of the better ones now. Now that I like have some background in this and I've been working here for almost a year, hell no. Hell no. But that's all I've got. Peace. Mama, a girl behind you.